All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. So do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications, and of course, participate in the conversation too by upvoting and commenting in the section below. Anyway, I'm here with Derek Vandygriff. We're going to talk a little bit of Ole Miss football. And Derek, one thing I've noticed over the last couple of days is the national media types, the Kirk Herbstreits, the R.J. Youngs, those guys,
Yeah.
they're like a combination of being directly hostile to Ole Miss and ignoring them completely. What do you think about that?
It's just kind of the way it's always been, isn't it? I mean, Lane's done a good job since he got here trying to change the narrative here at Ole Miss, and it's going to take people a little bit of time to come around to what he's building here. You can tell this is a little different than what Hugh Freeze did here, right? Like you can see the foundation and the long-term projection of this program, the way Lane has built it and the job that he's doing. And, he's really put an emphasis, obviously, on the fans buying in. And when we have a good product on the field, it doesn't take a whole lot for Ole Miss fans to support whatever program it is. But it seems to take a lot longer for it to take a hold of the national media types, kind of like you're talking about. And, the only way to change that is to keep winning. We're, 17-3 in our last 20 for our last 25, You go look at the list of teams that fall into that category, and they're all big time programs that have won obviously a lot over the last few years. And Ole Miss just isn't brought up as much as those other teams. But just keep taking care of business right now. Things are set up nicely for us. This is where the meat of our schedule is. It's where we've got to make our hay. And you can't overlook any of them. I know Auburn's down a little bit, but that's a really, really tough game for us. I think we've lost, 20 of our last 26 against Auburn, something like that. And then obviously LSU next week, Bama at Arkansas, so on and so forth. I mean, it's a really tough stretch, but you look at what Lane's done here though, and he's built it with a really good culture with the players, with the fans and the people around the program that really buy into what he's doing, and you can tell that it's really working for him.
Yeah, pretty good. And since this video, I'm going to replay it Sunday night. I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second because you weren't expecting this.
Right.
Any update for fall baseball?
Dude, I'm telling you, have you seen the exit velocities coming out of these scrimmages and such? I think we've had 4 or 5 scrimmages here in the last couple of weeks, and obviously the name that you expect to see on it every single scrimmage is Kemp Alderman. He's usually right up there at the top. But man, Will Furniss is on that list literally every single scrimmage. He is smoking the ball right now. A couple freshman pitchers have come in and are really throwing the ball well right now. But yeah, Furniss is one that's really caught my attention. If we could have that left-handed bat find its way on the field after losing Kevin Graham, plug him back in there if he's able to find his way to the field. I'm trying to think of the guy's name, but he's the JUCO third baseman that came in. He seems to be playing really well, and really high exit velocities. And that's kind of what you look for in the SEC, guys that can drive the ball. If they can hit the ball hard consistently, they're eventually going to either get over the wall or consistently find the grass in the outfield. And it seems to be going pretty well right now. Oddly enough, the coaching staff seems to still be pretty good at finding talent. Who would have thought?
Yeah, and Will Furniss, that is Eddie Furniss's son, for those who might not know, LSU legend.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm telling you, if you hadn't seen it, just go back to the Ole Miss Analytics Twitter account and just kind of scroll back through it from the last few scrimmages. You're going to see him on there 102, 103, 105, 106 mile-an-hour exit velocities. I mean, he's just absolutely smoking the ball right now. They actually had a video of one of his home runs from the scrimmage the other day that he hit, and looks like he's got a pretty good swing on him, and so if he can find his way onto the field, plug that left-handed bat in there to go with Kemp Alderman and Gonzalez and those guys, go ahead and start seasoning him up, and this offense might not take too big of a step back.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see. Now let's move on to the game this weekend against Auburn. Now, if you listen to the Locked On Auburn podcast, if you go over there and listen to those guys, they don't have much hope for this game. In fact, one of their experts that was on earlier this week actually said this game had a chance to be a bigger blowout than the Georgia game because of what we do. So we're not dealing with a team with high morale, a fan base with high morale. So what do you see in this game?
Well, I mean, not only do they not have high morale, it's not as talented of a team as you're used to Auburn bringing in and year out, right? They're down to basically their last quarterback. Two of them's out for the year with surgeries, and which Ashford's a really athletic kid. He can really hurt you with your feet if you let him. But the key there is to not let him and make him make plays down the field with his arm, which is something that he's shown that he just isn't capable of doing, at least not yet at this point in his career. They're not very good on the offensive line. Up front, they're a shell of themselves from what you're used to seeing in years past at Auburn. And, the defense was supposed to be pretty good coming into this year. That's kind of what they were going to hang their hat on and kind of rely on that defense to keep them into games. And, they've played well at times, but you can tell that they just don't have the same caliber players on that side of the ball that you're used to seeing, especially up front. And that's usually where they cause so much havoc for teams in years past. And but not only that, kind of like you're talking about the morale, the buy-in, all that. They can see the writing on the wall. They know what's coming. It's up to that coaching staff to get those guys up to play every single week. And when they know that that's not the guy that's going to be leading them very much longer, that's a really tough job to get those guys up every week. And kind of to your point with the Locked On Auburn guys thinking this could be a bigger blowout than Georgia, I totally agree with them, because that game with Georgia, that's the oldest rivalry in the South, right? I mean, you shouldn't have to say too much to your players to get them up for that kind of a big game that you play every single year. And especially the way Georgia is now, that just kind of adds fuel to the fire as far as the hatred and the intensity to that. And so, coming off of a big emotional game like that against a rival like that, it's a key letdown spot, 11 o'clock in the morning on the road against a really, really good and sound Ole Miss team. So, yeah, I kind of tend to agree with them.
Yeah, and a sellout. The place will be sold out again. Also, they gave up like 290 yards rushing to Georgia and like 290 yards rushing to Penn State. If they can't stop the run against Ole Miss, this thing will be over at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, they're really in trouble if they can't do something there, And against Georgia, that's one that you thought they would put a huge emphasis on stopping the run, right? Stetson Bennett's been fine this year, just like he was last year. He was fine. He's not blowing you away with really anything. So you want to crowd that box and make him beat you with the weapons on the outside. And then Georgia has plenty of them, don't get me wrong. But that's where you want them to go to beat you, and they weren't able to make him beat them out there. And if they come in with that same game plan against Ole Miss, and if they think they can come in there and give up almost 300 yards rushing and be in this game, I mean, Lord, it's liable to be 300 yards by the end of the first half, because Lane's going to sit there and pound it on them.
Yeah, if it works, he's going to make them stop it before he does something else. Now, what are you looking for in this game? What's something you have your eye out for?
Well, I mean, obviously the running game's kind of the big thing every single week for us, right? You want to see us keep feeding the rock and improving there. Caleb Bourne, you want to make sure he's healthy, right? If he played a good bit last week for us, but he's obviously a real key for us this year because of the snap problems we've had when he's been out. So, if he does end up playing, which I'm sure he will, you get him in there, you try to pad a lead, get up 3 touchdowns or so, and you got to get him out of there. We got to do a better job of getting those kind of guys out of the game when it's a little bit out of hand, because we've got a bunch of big weeks coming up, and then defensively, you want to keep seeing us get pressure on the quarterback. We're going to have to step up and stop the run. I would imagine that's going to be their focal point. Auburn offensively, that is try to run it on us and try to make us adjust a little bit. But, we we need to stop the run against them and force Ashford to try to make some throws against us. But it's kind of the same old playbook with Ole Miss right now. We're not in a position to where we have to force stuff on other teams. They have to play against us, and we've kind of dictated both sides of the ball a little bit, really, all year. We've kind of done whatever we wanted to do, and we've made them adjust to try to beat us rather than us having to adjust to what they're doing.
Yeah, I assume that Auburn is going to play basically the same game plan that Vanderbilt did, and they're going to do it with worse players. Now, Tank Bigsby, he super talented. Jarquez Hunter, super talented. Mm-hmm. They do not have a Will Shepherd. They do not have an A.J. Swan on that team. So, I just don't see any way that Auburn can really make hay in this game.
Yeah.
So, before we get out of here, what's the prediction of this game?
Oh, the prediction, I'm going to go 31-10. I think the Rebels get off to a hot start. Like I said, kind of try to get some guys out of there probably towards the end of the third quarter, give up a garbage touchdown in the fourth to get them to 10. And, Rebels get out healthy and get ready to travel down to the Bayou for a big 2:30 CBS game.
Yeah, that one should be a lot of fun. We needed sunshine. We got sunshine. I did not want an ESPN night game for LSU. No. Yeah, I don't believe too much in history and all this. Like Auburn, it's won so many against us. That doesn't really pertain to this thing. But that's the one game that a night game in Tiger Stadium, I do not want. Give me 11 o'clock. We'll Mount Luke this bad boy.
Yeah, that's it. You never want to go in there when the sun goes down. You give those guys down there a good, 9-10 hours, get good and liquored up by the time you walk into that stadium, and you're in for it that day.
Yeah, it's something else. But anyway, get more on the SEC by making Locked On SEC your second listen. Everyday host Chris Gordy and his local experts of Locked On take you across the SEC in 30 minutes. Make Locked On SEC your second listen. Locked On SEC. Derek, thank you very much for stopping by. Hopefully this weekend goes the way we need it to go, right?
Yeah, that's right. We've got a couple more to get through before the really big one gets here.
Yeah, it's coming, and there's a chance for some hiccups that all three of these teams can beat Ole Miss, but if Ole Miss can get to Alabama undefeated,
man,
that game could be fun.
It's going to be a zoo. All right,
anyway,
buddy.
take you later.
All right. Hi, Toddy.
Hotty toddy.